weekly rant video once again, and today's topic is science. I have been producing a lot more science-based content recently. I love doing that. I like editing those videos. While maybe because I'm not necessarily the biggest YouTuber out there, it may seem like pretty bad time investment to be editing these videos so highly, but as like a hobby, it's really fun for me to do all the research, do all the editing, dig really deep into all these stuff to help figure out why certain things happen, especially in the human anatomy, as well as the plant anatomy on some occasions. But one of the biggest complaints that I have is how hard it is to find things, find potential processes, potential pathways. Maybe it's because I feel like one of the things that they do in university a lot to scientists, to educate them, is to help them navigate the internet to actually mean that they can sort of get the best knowledge out of the internet that they possibly can, research papers, studies, etc. Because one of the biggest troubles that I have is actually just finding the research. Doing the research of my videos is such a hard thing, because I do research, and then while I'm like doing research, typing up into search bars, Google search bars, try to use ChatGPT on occasions, etc. Like loads and loads of other things like ResearchGate, Science.net, all these websites. I'm like doing that while I'm scripting. Like I'll find a bit out from a pathway, I'll put it in my script because I'm going to talk about that, and then I'll like try again to the next step, the next step, and the next step. It does end up taking a little bit of a while, but it's annoying when it takes such a long time, because it seems like it would be such a simple thing. Maybe because I'm way too science-based inside of my mind, it seems like it should be common knowledge for certain things to be on the internet, but there are things that I would think are so common and so like necessary for the general populace to have available to them. It's just not there. Like I'm doing research on how vitamin C used to actually be produced inside of humans. I'm struggling to find anything on this process. I'm struggling to find coenzymes, enzymes in all of these sort of steps. It's taking like a long time for me to actually get this research done. I end up not being able to find any of the sort of actual molecules, the chemical structures of the molecules inside of some of these metabolic processes, which just really gets on my nerves. I think one of the least enjoyable videos I ever had to edit was the video of glucose turning into ascorbic acid from in certain animals, not humans, because we have to get our vitamin C from the diet. It's probably one of the least enjoyable videos I've ever had to edit, because of the fact that there were so many molecules inside of that video, which I just couldn't put an image up on screen for. I literally just had to write in text the name of the molecule and say that I literally, no matter how hard I looked, I could not find any image for this particular molecule, which was just a bit annoying in a way. I didn't like how I had to do that. And yeah, one of the least enjoyable things that I've ever had to do. But I really like it when I'm digging deep and then I end up finding some absolute gold mine that gives me all the sort of vision information that I need to be able to sort of transfer it onto my script, and then transfer it audio visually as I'm kind of doing in these sort of science-based YouTube videos. It's very fun, but it does annoy me how some scientific content that I personally think should be common knowledge is just sort of not. Like there are certain things that human beings eat on a daily basis that they just don't even know what actually happens to them inside of the body. They don't know what it's metabolized into. They don't know if that takes up so many nutrients to be metabolized. They don't know how much energy it actually gives them. They don't know what happens in this. I personally would think that to be common knowledge, hence why I produce these videos, because I think that people should know about these things. I edit them so that it also isn't just like literal science, but it also gives a few of the health effects of said thing as well, so that they can sort of get a little bit of a balance. Because the video that I've recently recorded and edited on xylitol metabolism, I talked about some of xylitol's effects on the body, things that it can do to dental health, things that it can do to your gut, how exactly it's metabolized, what things does it produce. Yeah, I was finding it so hard to find a good explanation to this actual thing, and I did find it eventually, and it was one of those big breakthrough moments, because the image that I eventually found, the way that it was explained on this sort of research paper, was such a beautiful thing, and I loved it, and I mean that I could actually functionally and fully do this script like I wanted to, and it felt so good when I did that. But I was kind of annoyed, because I was like, why did it take so long for me to find this specific image? Why did it take me an hour to be able to get to this research paper and not like immediately have this sort of thing available to me? It was just very weird, because it seems like something that is so common, a sugar substitute, xylitol, used in teas, used in candy, no one actually knows how it's metabolized. No one actually knows what happens to sweeteners that are inside of things like Diet Coke, Coke Zero, etc. No one knows what happens to them when they're inside of the body. It's a very, very odd thing, but I do think that people should know about that kind of stuff, hence why I produce these videos. It's just a very annoying thing, because there are things that happen on a daily basis that people do eat that does end up having a bad effect on them when it actually gets inside of their body. Things like Crisco, things like the trans fats that exist inside of loads and loads of hydrogenated products. Even not so much anymore, but trans fats do still exist inside of the food that we eat on a daily basis. Why doesn't everyone know that trans fats exist and what trans fats actually do inside of the body? How they're difficult to metabolize, how they can't really even be digested in the first place. Why are they so bad when they actually are metabolized? Why are they so bad when they're used inside of cells? Why are they just so bad in general? No one really knows this sort of scientific knowledge. Yet I personally think that a lot of people should know about this scientific knowledge. That's why I produce these videos. That's why I made an entire video dedicated to Crisco, dedicated to the explanation of what trans fats do to the body, how they sort of mean that when they're used in cell membranes, it means that toxic substances can pass through that cell membrane and it's not utilized efficiently. Just loads of other stuff. But people will still use Crisco. People will still use these trans fat-based products on a daily basis because they don't necessarily have that scientific education of what this stuff does to the body. I want to change that. Yeah, there is also a lack of knowledge, not just in myself and these other people, but on the internet. There doesn't seem to be that much sort of knowledge of science whatsoever at all. I can't find too many of the images, too many of the enzymes for some of the metabolic processes that I talk about. There doesn't seem to be enough stuff on the internet to actually satisfy what I personally think is education for the consumer that is consuming all these foods on a daily basis. Because it's honestly getting to the point when I'm now delving into a lot more deeper topics with certain metabolisms, I'm going to end up having to go through universities and so much more stuff to actually be able to understand some of these things by applying basic procedures that I don't currently know about into all of the things that I will end up having to delve deeper into in the future, because it seems like a kind of weird gatekeepy thing if this knowledge of science is disbarred to universities, and then these biologists, these doctors, these dietitians, they can consult people, they can make people their clients, because they have this knowledge of the diet, they have this knowledge of the human anatomy, the biochemistry, the metabolic processes. But I wish that there was a level of the people themselves being able to easily understand these metabolic processes. I don't want to have to go through university just to literally do some research for these videos, because I want to be able to find some bit more easier to understand things on the internet. A lot of the stuff that I've done for research, I've found on websites that I personally, this might be wrong, some websites that I found to do research, it seemed like they've been made by either a university student as like a little as like a sort of, I don't know how to say it, as like a project in a way, or they've been made by a teacher to help the students like understand this in the sort of information age. It seems like they're being made by universities, but they are still kind of public because you can eventually find them on the internet after doing like a few hours of keyword research and loads and loads of other stuff. I just think that scientific knowledge should be a lot more public than what it currently is. Science seems to be quite a gatekeepy thing. I don't like that. I think that the public should have a lot more access to it. That's why I'm putting these videos out there to the general populace, because I want people to understand and be educated on these topics. But I myself struggle to find these things. I have to push through a lot of scripting and research to be able to get it onto a script and onto a linear format, which the people who are watching my videos will actually be able to understand. I think that's the best way that I can sort of summarize it and summarize my thoughts and feelings surrounding this topic, because I do think that it seems way too hard for me to find such simple and basic things that I personally think that the public should be able to find at the click of a finger, but that just doesn't seem to happen. So yeah, with that, I recommend subscribing, and I love this community of young tribal people who are willing to improve themselves so much more than they already have, and good luck.